Okay, I got the pool set up. I got the water, the rest of the water going in. I need a couple of more hours to fill it up. Now the water line is right at the bottom hole. That's the intake hole. That's where the water gets sucked out of the pool. Now the top hole here is the outtake. So after the water's been cleaned with the filter and the salt in the water gets, turned to chlorine, it will travel through the outtake. It's like a little jet. Now I want to talk to you about some of the things that come in the box. Now you have instruction video about how to set up your pool, and you have all the documentation down there for the ladder and how to set up the pool and all that stuff, right? And then the second part, after you have your pool basically up and ready to go, you finish filling it up, you get to the point where you have to start putting these hooking up the filter and the pump. You're gonna have to get going now. So in a separate box, it comes with this generator here. Now this generator is the CS7111, and this is a filter, pump, and as well as a chlorinator. And let me show you how it works. So what happens is you hook up your intake right up to here, and this is the actual motor that sucks the water out of the pool. Then it goes into the filter system, and then the filter system goes into the chlorinator, which has all these different components, and then it comes out and it goes into the jet, so that it jets it back into the pool again. So it's pretty big. The cord itself comes really long. I would say it's at least 20 feet long. So what I did was I ran it into the garage through the window that's over there. Left a little crack in the window and threw it in, and I'm going to show you that plug in a second, how I switched it over to GFI. It also comes with the skimmer, and that's a separate box. So here we have the two components that you hook up to the holes in your pool. So here we have the intake. So this sucks the water out of the pool, the dirty water, and it travels through, and it's got a shut off here. Comes with this little cap right here that you put over it. That was also in the box. And basically we're going to take this apart and put it on a tripod, the camera on a tripod, and I'll show you that. And it comes with the cover so that you can close it off if it's underwater. And it also comes with these test strips, so you can pretty much test the copper levels as well as the salt levels in your pool. It has its own DVD that you can watch. And then here is the intake, not the intake, but this blows the clean chlorinated water back into the pool again, and it has its shut off and everything. So I'm going to show you how to hook that up in a second. Here's the manual. It comes with its own manual. It has these two white tubings that you squeeze onto it. Now, as far as the salt goes, I'm going to be using the Morton pool salt because in the videos it shows Morton. So I went out and got Morton. I had this other kind of salt. It's pretty much the same thing. What I like about the Morton salt, it's a little closer into what it tells you in the manual to use. So this pool is 16 by 48, and it takes 5,061 gallons of water when you get it to the fill line up there. So pretty much on here it says use 4 bags, which they're 40-pound bags. So that would give me 4 times 40 is 140, no, 80, or 160. So I only need 125 pounds of salt. So that's 3 bags, one less. 40 pounds is 1 bag. So I only have to use 25 from that one and the 2 40s. Now this one here has a little bit of a weirder chart because it kind of says use 1 bag for 10,000 gallons. So I'm not going to use this. I don't want to use the wrong salt, because once you put the salt in, if you did it wrong, you got to drain the whole entire pool. If you added too little salt, then you can always add salt, and it's better to use the salt that Intex uses. Now, the other thing is the pool also came with this a strainer, so that and its own little pole over here. Now the bad thing about this pole is it doesn't fit your third-party brushes and strainers. It's the third-party ones are standard size, and they're too big for this wimpy little pole. So you have to go out and buy yourself a little pole, because you're going to need a brush to push all this salt around your pool to get it dissolved. Now we also have this stuff, and this is not something that they tell you, but it's in the manual to tell you to use stabilizer. Now what this product does, this is cyanuric acid. It's 100%. So what it does is you throw it in the pool. According to my size pool, the 5,061 gallons, you throw in 1.3 pounds of that. So that's a 2-pound bag. So you get that too, because you have to throw that in, because what happens is when the ultraviolet rays hit the pool, the chlorine that's generated by the chlorinator gets dissipated, and you lose all your chlorine. You don't want to lose your chlorine. You got a pump here. You're spending money on electricity to create chlorine, so you want to use that product there, because that's going to help you keep your chlorine in your water. The sun does damage, especially the pool I'm in. I have all sun all day long, which is good for me because my water will be a little bit warmer than usual. I got my little ducky in there somewhere. Ducky, there he is. There's my little ducky thermometer, and that's gonna keep the tabs on my temperature. Now, this is a great system. It's all you really need for this size pool. I got some goggles there in case I got to go underwater. And speaking of going underwater, I had a little hole in my pool from the factory, because you could see that the hole was on a crease where they fold these pools at factory and put them in a box. But my pool had a tiny little bit of a hole in it. There goes the patch there. Now when you create a patch, the Intex pools, they come with some liner. One is thicker, and that one you would use for the bottom if you had a pinhole in the bottom. And there's one for the side that's thin, and that's for like those blue toy Intex pools. But then there's also the thicker one, and that's the one I use for the wall. So what you do is you cut out a circle, and you go on the inside of the pool, you fold the circle in half, and then you put something like this in. This is the glue. This is like PVC glue. This is made for pools, and what it does is it actually bonds with the pool's line, bonds the two liners together. So you put a whole generous amount of this. Don't use the patches that they give you. Use the liner that came with the Intex pool, and you put a whole bunch on. You fold it over so it doesn't come out, and you go jump in the pool, and you throw the patch right over the hole. Now, before you do that, you take like a little pin here. You could use a toothpick, you could use a pencil, but I use this because the hole was so tiny on mine. I actually wanted to make the hole a little bit bigger so that all this glue gets inside there and bonds, with the outside patch. So you open up the pin and you pop it through from the outside, and then when you jump in the pool, you reach down with your hand and you feel the paper clip protruding through. I used a Sharpie and I put a little dot where the hole was, because it's kind of hard to tell. Use your goggles so you can see a little bit better under the water. And then I took that folded patch with all the glue on it, and boom, popped it right on, smoothed it out, get all the air bubbles out. Then it came around the outside and I did the same exact thing. So the leak stopped and it's working great. Now there's a little wet spot here, but I don't think that's a leak. I think it was when I had the sponge on the pool, I dropped it down, because this is all dry. I'm going to have to pack it down once I get it to the right level. Throw some water on it, pack it down, and it'll be like a rock. So that's this. What's included in the box. Let me show you the GFI outlet. Because you do have to, if you don't have a plug nearby, you're going to have to get one. It's best to have those waterproof ones mounted outside your house. But you might want to use the one on the inside of your garage or your structure or wherever you're near. I'm near my garage, but sorry, my garage is a mess. I've been doing some work on the garage door and fixing the siding and all that. I apologize. This is my bike, a Honda. Anyway, this is what I did. So it had this old style junction box, which I don't know where I put it. It's over here. It had this old style junction box right over here. I pulled the wires out of it. This is the hot, this is the neutral, and that's the ground. I'm sorry, this is the hot, this is the neutral, this is the ground. And it runs by itself. There might be another set of wires That's if you're running it to another plug in a different location of the garage. But this is the end point. So I popped this out because I didn't like this because I like the plastic ones better. And it gives you a little bit more room to fold up your wires and all that stuff. So I'm going to put this new one in here. Just simply screw it a little bit out from the beam. And you tuck your wires in there. And then we're going to use this GFI. I had this old one here, which you can't use with the Intex Pool. You need a GFI so that if a surge comes, it pops it and then you hit the reset button to reset it. It's simple to use. You just put the hot and the white and then the ground underneath and you're good to go. Stuff it back in, screw it in, and you're good. Buy yourself a little plate to put over it. There's a square plate. You don't use the old one. And this is the plug itself. 25 to 40 feet of cable. I'm not really sure. I didn't even see what it said, but look, there it is. So you plug that right in. Boom. I have it in the window there, and the window's fairly closed, and we're good. So let's pop this in, plug it in, and then we'll set up the pool. Okay, so you have this intake. That's the one with the divot. And you pretty much unscrew it from here. You put this inside, and you got your little ring on it. That's your washer ring, you know, like your O-ring. And what we're going to do is we're going to wet it a little bit. This way you get a nice seal. Make sure that it's on there. And this goes on the inside of the pool. Put it right through here. The water's starting to overflow a little bit. Make sure you have a nice seal. And basically hand tighten it. And that's good. So after you get it on, then you just put this right on here. There's a gasket in there too. So we're going to hand tighten it. We're going to set it to the off position. That's clockwise. Okay? And then we can hook this tube up. This gets pushed in. Couldn't be easier. And then we'll just connect this tubing to here. For the other one, do the exact same thing. And this one is the one with the jet that moves around. Okay? So we're gonna undo that. We're going to wet our ring so we get a nice seal. And this goes on the inside. And then, without stripping it, we just spin it on. Okay. And we'll put our shut-off valve. Got the ring inside. Match it up carefully. Without stripping it. Just hand tighten it. If it leaks, then we'll tighten it with a small wrench just to get it a little bit tighter. Okay. And we'll put that to the off position, which it already is at. Okay, now we hook up the hose. Make sure there's no gravel in there. Push this up over and hook up the hose. hand tight. And then this goes to the chlorinator. Now remember to hand tighten everything on the pump, because when it comes shipped, it doesn't come hand tight. Make sure everything is hand tight. Okay. Now I'm going to go fix that GFI plug. I'll plug it in, and then we can start it up. But before you start it up, throw the salt in. Use the brush to dissolve the salt for a little bit. Spend a good hour on it, pushing it around, get it all dissolved up. And then you could turn on the pump. To open up the two valves, you push the, you shake the hoses to get the air out. You open up the air until all the air comes out and you start seeing water come out. Then you close it. Same thing here. And there's one at the bottom in case you want to get down deep. Put some little use into it. Now I'll show you the panel after we get it all started. Okay, you can see that I have my GFI in now, and if I trip it, it shuts off, and that's if you get a power surge or some ground fault surge, and then you can just hit the reset button and it'll turn back on again. So at this time, we're going to hit the reset button on the plug, and we're going to plug this in right to the bottom. I need the top one to trickle charge my bike. Okay, so we're plugged in. Got all the air out of the hoses, and now we can lift this little door right here. Now what they want you to do is they want you to hit the power button back here and just let it run. It's going to run for 24 hours, and that's it. But let me explain some of these things here. It's simple. This is the lock and unlock button. This is the timer button. This is the button you press to set 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hours. This is the boost cycle, so that it boosts chlorine making. There's lights here. If you just turn it on with the switch in the back, you'll see pump, and it'll pump on. Then you'll see working is when it's creating the chlorine with the salt water. Boost is after a rainstorm or when a lot of dirty people are in your pool, you want to set a boost cycle, and that will boost chlorine creation. Then there's a sleep after you run your pump and you create working for 8 hours or 6 hours, whatever time you want to run it. After it's done, it will go to sleep mode, and that will conserve some power. And that's pretty much it. And if you get a low pump flow, or low salt or high salt, or it breaks, it goes on service. And these are the indicators for that. If you got low flow, that means you got air in the hose or something like that. And if you got low salt, you have too little salt, too high salt, and then for service. And it's that simple. Basically, when you turn it on and you go to working, where it's creating salt, you can set the timer to let it create salt for 8 hours. I'm going to do it from like midnight to 6. And if I just want the pump running, I can just have the pump running. So now let's turn it on for the first time, see what happens. All right, it starts turning on. It's flashing 00, and it says pump. And that's pretty much it. Turn it on, it says pump, just let it run for 24 hours. Later on, I'll show you how to set it up for the salt creation. Now, as far as noise, it's not too noisy. It really isn't. Maybe in boost mode it's a little noisy. Now, the next thing you want to do is you want to just make sure that you put your hand in the water and you feel the suction of the intake. And I feel it. It's sucking it in. And then you want to make sure you're below water here and you feel the water coming out. And that's it. Let it run for 24 hours. Okay, so I ran the pump filter for 24 hours without the chlorinator on. And basically you do that by just hitting the power button on the back. And it'll be 00, ready for programming. And then you just let it run. Or you can, what you could do is you can hit both the unlock button and the timer button at the same time, and you'll get this thing that says FP, filter pump, and that you run for 24 hours. Now, after the 24 hours, probably around 23 hours, I installed the skimmer. Of course, the kids put all these bowls in there, but it still works when objects go over. So I put the skimmer in. What that does is It's like an inch below the top of the water, and what it'll do is it'll suck in. You put it in through your intake, and it sucks in all the leaves and bugs and things like that you have on your pool. You know, put that on, but don't put it on when the kids are in the pool or you're in the pool. Don't even run the pump when the people are in the pool. You run the pump, either you're generating chlorine or you're just running the pump. Do it when there's nobody in the pool, because they say something about the suction. I mean, you can do it, but you know, it's probably best not to. So here, now that we have the filter pump running for 24 hours, we're ready to program it to start making chlorine for the water. Now, I already done this, but let's make pretend that I have 24 hours is up. So what you do is you hit this unlock button here, and then it goes into 0-1. It's hard to see in the sun. 0-1, so that's 1 hour, right? And then if you just hit this button here, it'll go 2 hours, 3 hours. It's hard to see. 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours, 7, and then 8. So here's 8 hours. So we're gonna run this for 8 hours. So now that we have that, it's gonna automatically, you hit the lock button there, and now you're gonna see this light start to blink, working. And now that means it's generating chlorine. So after 8 hours of generating chlorine, it's taking that salt and it's turning it into chlorine. We're gonna have to do some testing with the test strips, and to see if we have the right amount of salt and the right amount of pH and the right amount of copper and that acid that I threw in there to stabilize the pool. So we'll let that run for 8 hours now. And since it's now 7 o'clock in the morning, it's gonna set every day, it's automatically gonna turn on at 7 in the morning for 8 hours. So that's how you do it. If you want to set it at midnight, it's probably better. And then it runs for 8 hours. This way, at 8 o'clock in the morning, the pool's ready. But if nobody's going to use the pool, try to run the chlorinator when you know that people are going to use the pool like an hour after it stops cycling. So the kids get off of the bus at 3 o'clock. We'll start it at 7, you know? And then this way, at 3 o'clock, they have chlorine in their water and everything is good. So that's pretty much it. And then when you're done, at any time, you can go to filter pump. At any time, you could shut it off completely just by hitting the power button in the back. Or after the chlorinator is done, it'll go into standby mode and it'll give you code 93, which means everything went cool. All right? So there it is. There's the pool. Enjoy your pool. I'm going to do the deck. I'm going to do the paver. I mean the stone here. I'm going to put it over there. It's going to be beautiful. The kids are going to enjoy it. It's right in the sun. Yesterday it rained a little bit, so I actually put the cover on. I used clamps to clamp the other side so that I could pull the cover over, but there was some water on it, and even though the cover has holes in it, the water just sits on top because the holes are in the water, so no salt gets, a little bit of rainwater gets inside, but it's not bad. It didn't affect it really. So that's pretty much it, guys. We're all set. Pump's running. We're generating chlorine. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you on the next video.